He might actually be the most derivative one of all. I mean, Christ, the same house.
Maybe so. But you forgot the first rule of surviving a stab movie. Never answer the...
I'm bored.
Wait!
Okay, Joe. Ready?
Well, I feel like we have some housekeeping that we need to do to make sure everyone understands how this works.
I meant ready for housekeeping, not ready to start the movie.
Yeah.
So I should have been more clear.
Okay, so folks, we do audio commentaries on our Patreon once a month, and we've got a kind of scripted intro that will help to make sure that we're all synced up. And of course, if anyone wants to imbibe along with us, because of course, for some of you, it's late at night, and for the rest of us, it's maybe mid to early afternoon, so it's a Saturday. We should have something.
Vodka filled in our Horror Queers commemorative thermoses.
Okay, so I'm going to lead most of this audio commentary is what I'm hearing. Got it. All right, so Trace, how does this work?
Yeah, everyone. So basically, just technical standpoint. So Joe and I both have our movies queued up, subtitles turned on, and volume turned all the way down. So our audio will not bleed over into this recording. You are, of course, free to watch the movie with your audio up. Obviously, you don't want it to be so loud that you cannot hear me and Joe speaking. So, use that as your best judgment. We both have a Blu-ray, so our movie, when it starts, it goes right to the Universal logo. So make sure that whatever version you're watching, it just goes straight into the Universal logo. We will count down. When we are ready to go, we will go 3, 2, 1, play. And on the word play, Joe, what are we all going to do?
We're all going to hit play.
We're all going to hit play. But before we do that, why don't we discuss these drinking games that you have so cleverly made for us, Joe?
Absolutely. So, folks, we have 3 different tiers, as usual. And we're going to take a sip whenever we see a split diopter. So that's basically when you can really clearly see the foreground and the background of the film. It's going to be quite obvious when it happens. But Ronnie Yu is quite fond of them in this film.
Yes. This is also a filmmaking term that I feel like has really become popular in maybe not mainstream audiences, but people know what a split diopter shot is now because I feel like this just they get used so much more often now. But
right.
Okay, so we are also going to take a sip when either Martha Stewart or Tiffany's mother is mentioned in the film.
Yes, that's why it's a 1-sip rule, because it happens a little more often than you realize. So we're also going to take 2 sips whenever another horror movie is referenced. And I feel like, Trace, this is going to be the one that we struggle with the most.
See, okay, y'all, peek behind the curtains. Because we don't hear these things, I'm actually really bad at the audio cues because it's reading subtitles and watching the movie. Nevertheless, if we miss one, feel free to call us out or just ignore it and keep drinking yourself responsibly. We are also going to take 2 sips whenever someone dies. And for John Ritter, his final death. We're not going to do the first attack of the nails, but
Well, maybe you won't. Maybe I will. And then finally, folks, we're going to chug our drink, of course, near the end of the film. In this case, we're going to wait until Glen and Glenda are born.
Yes. And I think that's really all the housekeeping we have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Also, anyone else feel old that this is 25 years old?
Oh, boy. Not my favorite feeling, but I will say it was interesting watching this movie and realizing that it's this movie and Urban Legend are both 25 years old this year. Did I get that right?
Yeah. I think I've mentioned this because we do have an episode on this movie on our main feed. But this is when the trailer for this movie was released, my family had just gotten a Windows 98 computer that we use as a family in our upstairs office. And this is one of the very first trailers I watched on the internet when I would have been 9 years old when this came out. And it's choppy glory.
Oh boy. Buffering.
Dial-up internet.
I hate it.
It's horrible. Okay, everyone. I think that's enough time. If you don't have the movie queued up yet, good luck.
Now you're just listening to us.
You're just going to listen to us, which is fine. Okay, Joe, you got your movie queued up?
I'm ready.
All right. So we'll go 3, 2, 1, play. 3, 2, 1, play.
I'm so proud of him, folks. I've been training him for years to figure out how to leave adequate spaces in between the counting.
So the thing is, I have no rhythm, so I'm not good at doing beats between things. So I'll be like 3, 2, 1, play. Also, immediately we have Graham Revell's score for this. I actually meant to grab my vinyl copy because they just released a vinyl of this score for the first time ever, either earlier this year or late last year, and the artwork on it is beautiful.
All right. Yeah, I love that you've gotten into vinyl, keeping outdated forms of media alive.
Yeah, I definitely did not spend $3,000 on vinyls in 2022.
Oh, boy.
Immediately, though, take a drink because we are referencing horror movies right off the bat. We got Jason's Mask, Chainsaw, Michael Myers, Freddy's Glove. I'm a little surprised they could do this because those aren't Universal properties, but I guess maybe they're like, that the items themselves aren't trademarked for their respective villains.
Well, if I hadn't locked my husband in his crate, I would have asked him since he used to work in IP. But I have a feeling that because they are iconic images associated with horror films, but they are not properties, like they're not exclusive properties. Like you can't just say, oh, I see a chainsaw. That must mean Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Yeah. I think you can do it.
I guess because the Michael Myers mask started as a William Shatner mask, so it's like, sure. Tricky. This movie, too, right? So this is coming out, 5 years after... Oh, God, no. I think maybe even 7 years after Child's Play 3. I think that was 91. That was a super quick turnaround. I think that came out 9 months after Child's Play 2. Didn't do well critically or commercially, and so that's why it took so long. We actually have Scream to thank for this movie.
100%, yeah. I mean, I think Don Mancini is tipping his hat at the direction the franchise and this particular film is going to go in with that opening sequence, right? It's like, we're playful, we're subversive, we're going to be self-referential now. And yeah, it's 100%, I didn't have any ideas after 3, but Scream maybe changed the game a little bit.
I mean, and here's the thing, here's our introduction to Tiffany that's about to happen, but this is... I mean, I feel like we talk about Chucky in terms of, horror iconography, and she's so good. Jennifer Tilly is so good in this movie. I love that she's stuck with this franchise since this came out. And also, I've never interviewed her myself, but she's always been very, supportive of this franchise, which is more than we can say for some horror actors, specifically some in this film.
Wow. Okay. We're going hot take and very spilling out the tea early on. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I didn't realize that she and Don Mancini didn't know each other super well before this film. He wrote this with her voice in his mind as a great addition, but they didn't really have a relationship before that.
Well, doing research on this, it was interesting because, he wanted her to do it, but it was Gina Gershon, Jennifer Tilly's co-star in the Wachowskis' amazing film Bound. She was the one that was like, go do that! Go do that killer doll movie!
Absolutely. You know what? Get that paycheck. Also, I'm going to take a drink, folks. We've got a dead body.
Dead.
In case you were wondering, that was Rebecca Gayhart's fiancé from Urban Legend.
Yes! Oh my god, yes, that is exactly who that is. But he has more screen time in this movie because he's
he does.
Just dead. Licking of the blood, by the way, Jennifer Tilly's idea.
Oh, man.
Okay, this being her first line, though, cool.
Oh, yes, I forgot we're going to be doing Tilly voices throughout this, aren't we?
Oh, I think that's the best I can do. I really can't do the Tilly voice.
Work that throat, girl. Come on. You've had a whole month to practice.
This is such a great opening. I see, someone said this is an iconic introduction. This is so good. Oh God, what's the song? It's
Rob Zombie's Living Dead Girl.
Living Dead Girl.
Tracing his inability to do
I don't know music, y'all. This might be the only Rob Zombie song that I actually know, and it's only because it's in this movie.
Oh my God, Dracula is right there.
Was that in a movie?
You know what? We'll talk about it later. But yes, no, it is honestly such a fantastic opening to a film that I don't know about you, Trace. You didn't really have a relationship with Child's Play because they were all R-rated, so you really hadn't been able to watch them. But, I mean, I knew of Chucky. I hadn't really watched any of them because I hadn't really come to horror until, mid-90s. But this was definitely a case of 3 felt like the franchise was done. Mancini was out of ideas. It felt like there was no interest in this killer doll movie. So this the fact that we get this movie and then it reignites everything to the point that we still now have a Chucky TV show is just so fucking important.
Yeah, and this is basically a soft reboot, right? Because we're not dealing with Andy Barclay in this. Like, technically, I think you could watch this movie if this was your first Child's Play film, and you would be able to come into it and be like, yeah, I get it. Also, we have the lovely newspaper clippings helping us out.
Right.
It's interesting. I'm going back to a personal story though. So my dad always, because I wasn't allowed to watch R-rated movies, so my dad would basically recite the plots of these movies to me as a kid. I could just imagine them in my head. Well, as a kid, when you are told, oh yeah, this redheaded doll named Chucky, I grew up watching Rugrats on Nickelodeon. So I had this image. Well, and also for a doll, I imagine a Barbie doll size, type doll that looks like Chucky from the Rugrats.
Very tiny. Okay.
Yeah, but the box art for Child's Play 3 is just Chucky's angry face, and I remember seeing that at a local video store when I was a kid, and it freaked me the fuck out.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, look at this fucking doll. He's scary.
I love this new design for Chucky too. I am kind of happy that we've moved back into non-stitched up Chucky, but yeah. You
mean our beautiful little doll? Did you not bring your Chucky in? I thought you said you were going to show him.
I'm sitting on my bed. I have not brushed his hair recently at all. But this is my Chucky doll.
The slander. He looks like you have put him through a food processor.
Ooh. He's been living in my closet. I don't have a good place to display. I need to get an actual doll case to just display in my apartment somewhere.
I mean, please don't. That sounds terrifying. That's how the horror movie begins.
By the way, we have a Canadian actor, Gordon Michael Woolvett, playing David here, and this is a pretty formative character for you, Joe, I believe, in your burgeoning queerness.
This is true, yeah. So, as queer people, we often have crushes that we don't always understand before we kind of come to our queerness, unless you were lucky enough to realize that you were queer very early on. But yeah, in 1998, this guy with his frosted tips, his boy band looks, he was very important to me, being like, why do I have an interest in this character? He is very clearly just the gay sidekick in this movie. And yet when he goes splat, it was really rough. I was very upset.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Xenomorph, I will answer your question. No, we do not have the Trick or Treat Studios dolls. Both of these dolls were sent to us courtesy of, I believe, Sci-Fi when Chucky was premiering. And because the Trick or Treat Studio dolls are $500 a pop, only a very select group of critics got those. Everyone else got the Party City style dolls with the beady eyes. So that is why we do not have the Trick or Treat Studio dolls.
This is true. But you know what? We do love them, and we're very thankful that we were given them because, it's we don't want to see them unappreciative.
No, the funny thing was I love this doll. I think it's great. But whenever I posted a picture of this on Instagram, it's my most liked Instagram post, but because people were shitting on me being like, why don't you have the Trick or Treat Studios doll? So Thank you for bringing that up.
Trace is obviously still feeling the pain.
I just kept getting notifications being like, why don't you have the good doll? And I was like, because.
Yeah, the way that you can tell is that the arms and the legs don't bend.
Yes. Katherine Heigl, by the way. So
Here we go.
Okay, here's the thing. The one I mentioned earlier, so Katherine Heigl has not spoken very kindly about this movie. That is per Don Mancini, who is still a little bit kind of, not
This is
bitter.
true. When we talked to him, he was kind of like, girl, it's time to, make amends and reach out to me and apologize because, A, this movie is good, and also, B, yeah, I was helping you.
It's also the second most successful Child's Play film, box office wise. Of course, after this we get Seed of Chucky, and then it goes straight to video after that. Mm-hmm. But I would have been watching her. I think she got Roswell right after this opened. So I grew up watching her on Roswell, and then of course Grey's Anatomy.
Here's the thing: I think we talked about this in our episode as well. But the reality is that we don't like women who speak their minds. We immediately deem them as difficult or hard to work with or bitches or the C word. And I do get the impression that she can sometimes come off as ungrateful as a result. But at the same time, I do admire the fact that she says, don't nominate me for awards when I wasn't given much to do in a season, or I don't think that movie's very good. I find it a bit refreshing. Now, I don't like her opinion about this movie, but it's also because I do like this movie.
To be fair, so what happened to her, she was on a talk show, and I think she was doing rounds for Grey's Anatomy, and they brought up a picture of her with the Chucky doll, and they were like, hey, so, you were in this crazy movie when you first started working, and it was clearly meant to be like so how do you feel about being in this lowbrow horror movie now that you're famous on Grey's Anatomy? So her reaction was very much like gotta pay the bills. Mm-hmm.
Which, I mean, the reality is a lot of actors do it. I just don't think you need to be like, ooh, it's a bad movie. It's like, yeah, I did what I need to do to pay the bills, and I'm glad people like the movie. Also, go ahead. I know you want to talk about her hitting the doll.
No, awake.
Also, not at all a reference to a certain trio of witches. Amok.
Oh,
Probably
maybe. I don't know. Also, if you look very closely, that Voodoo for Dummies book is written by Don Mancini.
Is it really? That's so
It's
fun.
Not really, but like on the cover it does say by Don Mancini. Also, queer connection, Alexis Arquette entering the movie.
There we go. Yeah. I was going to wear a mesh tank top in honor of Alexis Arquette, and also because it was Pride. And then I put it on, and I basically just looked like a sausage. So I was just like, maybe not today. Maybe one day that tank top will come out. But we'll leave the looks to Alexis Arquette.
Also Jennifer Tilly. Like, I think Jennifer Tilly's already had 2 costume changes in this movie.
It's true. Yeah, I think she kills the cop and then changes her outfit, which is like full diva behavior.
Well, because she has like the leather kind of get up in the first scene, but then when she's pulling out all the doll stuff, she's wearing this like this robe with like these huge sleeves on them, and now she's in this like sexy little get up.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's very 1998 how often Chucky references her weight and how like if women get fat or when they get old and that kind of stuff, like it was what we did in the late 90s. But when you look at Jennifer Tilly in this movie, like I think that there were a number of queer women who probably had very important experiences around her because she is fucking hot.
Oh, yeah. No, she is so sexy in this movie. Oh, God. She's really on my bucket list of people I would just love to, like, sit and have a drink with and talk to because I bet she's a fascinating interview.
Oh, my God. Her and Gina Gershon. Let's just get them together.
Have you ever seen Bullets Over Broadway? Because that's what she got her Oscar nomination for.
I have not. I'm a bad gay.
I think it's a Woody Allen film, so, y'all proceed with caution. But, like, I've always wanted to see it, because, that's her Oscar-nominated performance. I love this under-the-leg shot, too.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the shot we're about to get with this spider when it falls on Damien's face, I think it looks CGI, or maybe it's, like superimposed on top of it. It doesn't look
quite right.
Like when she's holding it, it does. But when it falls in a second, I think it looks kind of fake. Or maybe it's just the lighting. But hold on.
Maybe. Oh, yeah, you're right.
But I only bring it up because they only use about 24 CGI shots in this film. Everything else is practical. And with the exception of, I believe, this scene, all the CGI is used to enhance the film. It's never just like a CGI. And yes, Mitch, you are correct. Damien was originally written for Marilyn Manson, but he said no. So per Don Mancini, they just ripped off his act.
Yeah. Which, honestly, ages much better.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, well, yeah, given... you mean given all the accusations against Marilyn Manson?
Yeah, just a few of those.
Just a little bit.
I also think it plays into the spirit of the film, right? Where you look at him and you can think, oh, okay, he's just living an alternative lifestyle. Manson. Or you see, oh, we're being metacritical of a Marilyn Manson type figure. So I think it plays into multiple meanings for the film.
Yeah, for sure. I think I saw Child's Play 2 before I saw this movie, but this is definitely one that once it started airing on cable, like it aired all the time. And so
interesting.
When I was probably 10 or 11, I did see this eventually for the first time edited for TV, but they don't edit out when he asks for when she says menage a trois. And I asked my dad what a menage a trois was, and he was like, "Where the fuck did you hear that?"
Don't you speak French? Oh, boy.
This doll, by the way, 200 pounds.
Oof. Yeah, I remember when we were talking to Don for our Cult of Chucky episode, he did talk about, like, just the kind of evolution of how the dolls have functioned in the films and the television show, but it was really interesting getting to watch those Chucky screeners before they aired, because we would get to see the puppeteers working with the dolls. And like, it's still very intensive. Like, there's often 6 or 7 of them on screen kind of manipulating various parts. But I can imagine, I mean, how often do you need to make a doll that moves in the way that Chucky does? So these prototypes would have been heavy.
And Xenomorph, this version would have been censored, but Menage a Trois isn't something that's censored in the US. Like, they censor fuck and shit. But Menage a Trois, it's not a curse word.
It's not a swear. It's just we've not commented on the size of this trailer, but I will.
It's enormous!
every time we see that she has a full bathtub in here, I just kind of love this movie a little bit more.
Yeah. Because I believe over half of the film was shot in a soundstage in Toronto, by the way. And you'll love this because I did watch Ronnie Yu's commentary yesterday. And he says, oh yeah, we shot this in Toronto, Canada.
Wow. Don't think that gets you off the hook. But also, yes, technically this film could be considered Canadian, which is all the more appropriate that Mitch asked us to talk about this for Soho Horror, because it is actually Canada Day here today. So, happy CanCon.
Well, because this was shot in Toronto, they had to use like a certain percentage of their staff and actors like had to be Canadian. So most of the actors in this movie are Canadian actors, including Jennifer Tilly, actually.
This is true, which is a fact I didn't know until his most recent rewatch. Well, I mean, usually we say things like, Jim Carrey and other people like that, you know, Ryan Gosling. Those are our famous Canadians. Like, we shit on people like Jennifer Tilly because she's, quote unquote, not in prestige films.
Jennifer Tilly also has a new nudity clause in her contract, which was interesting. It must have been implemented after Bound, because you definitely see her titties in that movie. But you can see she gets a little bit of a nip slip in this scene when she's doing. Oh God, yeah,
it hurts. Like, I think that this is such a great example of violence that really, really hurts, because it's like, I don't know, like, I think it's ridiculous that that's the most gore we're going to get out of this death sequence before Chucky effectively smothers this character to death. Like, the idea of a doll sitting on a pillow to kill a human being is very funny to me.
Well, he doesn't look 200 pounds, right? Like, he looks like a pretty light doll. Actually, I'm sorry, we have him, so he is a very light doll.
This is true, yeah. You can one-hand him for sure. Ta-da! We haven't talked at all about Brad Dourif's vocal performance, but I wonder what it's like to be an actor where, you know, he had very limited screen time in that first film, and then over the course of his career, this is one of the things he's become known for. But it's still just that thing where, you know, he probably comes in, does it like 5 or 6 days in an audio booth, and then pieces out.
So you're close, actually. So both he and Tilly were in the recording booth for 3 days, and all of the recording takes place before filming even starts. So Tilly was acting in this movie, actually already done all of her vocal recordings. Weirdly enough, though, and so talk about like a rush job, they started filming this movie in April of 98 and had to have it in theaters by its October 16th release date.
Holy shit. I do not like that. The fact that this movie even makes sense is impressive.
That's what I'm saying. Well, especially dealing with all the, like, I mean, like, you know, they have like, what, 9 puppeteers per doll. They had like pre-programmed facial expressions for Chucky, but they would have to do it on the fly, sometimes based on ad-libbing or if they're reshooting the scene. So it's, I mean, I don't envy the job work on this, but honestly, I think this film is shot very stylishly. I mean, I don't think we've mentioned a split diopter shot yet, but
no, and I'm definitely sure that we've missed at least a couple by this point. But yes, credit to Kevin Yeager, who of course would go on to try his hand at directing a couple of different films. He is a special effects and makeup artist. You know, I obviously know him from the failed Hellraiser Bloodline.
Yes, but I also know him as the husband of Seventh Heaven mom, Catherine Hicks. Oh, I'm sorry, also Child's Play 1 mom, Catherine Hicks.
So maybe that's how he got this gig.
I think they met. I think they met on the film because he was doing the makeup, the effects in the first film.
Okay, so...
John Ritter, by the way.
I was going to say, yeah, we've not talked about Nick Stabile or John Ritter. John Ritter is just so fucking good in this movie. I will say, when he dies, I always feel like he dies too early in this movie because he's giving such a campy, delicious performance.
Yeah.
Like, I really miss his energy once he's gone.
Yeah, I agree. I actually didn't grow up... I didn't watch Three's Company a ton as a kid,
No.
but I did watch his ABC sitcom with Katie Sagal, The 8 Simple Rules for Dating My Teenage Daughter.
Right. Oh, God, that was on forever, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, but he died, like, during it, and so they replaced him with, oh, God, James... Oh, like, Katie Sagal's dad, like, James Garner or something came in as, like, the next, the grandpa.
Oh, I see. Okay. Any thoughts on soap star Nick Stabile?
Every time I think that I know him from something, and I don't. Like, I don't know this actor at all, but he's very pretty.
So pretty, yeah. He gives off, like, big, like, I'm hot and dumb energy in this movie, which I think is essential, right? Like, Jesse and, oh my God, he's so bland, I've forgotten his name. What's his character name? Jesse and Jade.
Jesse,
there we go.
Jade.
The double J's, yeah. I mean, it's tough, right? Because they're the less exciting characters in this movie. Whenever we're on them, we're typically not on Tiffany and Chucky, which makes us want to be with Tiffany and Chucky, so...
agreed, Liz, about John Ritter and Buffy playing the robot Ted. I think is that season 1? Maybe 2. Maybe it was 2.
Yeah, very early in the run. I think that actually might have been my introduction to him.
Really? Interesting. So I think my parents talked about...
Split diopter.
Oh,
There we go.
Split diopter. Go. Well, you know, it's funny, though, because do you know the premise of Three's Company is that he's living with 2 girls, but he has to pretend to be gay because the landlord won't let them live, like won't let a man and a woman cohabitate in the same apartment together.
Right. Yes. Which is a premise that we would not make a TV show of nowadays.
No. But I think it was considered pretty progressive in the 70s, or maybe the 70s.
Right. I'm sure there were no stereotypes on display.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure it was totally fine. So, okay, was Tiffany's endgame, like, was she going to keep him as a doll the whole time? Was that her plan?
It's unclear, but I think she definitely wanted to get that ring on it before she was going to entertain ideas of maybe bringing him back into a human body, but she did kind of seem open to the idea of just hanging out with a plastic doll for the rest of her life.
I want this robe of hers so bad.
It definitely is giving expensive Hot Topic, and I like that for her.
Oh God, man. Hot Topic now, I think, is mostly just movie merchandise, like
right.
That kind of stuff. Like, it's not really like the goth punk store that I remember. I mean, maybe that's Spencer's, actually. I don't know.
I wouldn't know. Ask me the last time I went to the mall.
Yeah. Also, we have characters smoking front and center in a movie, The Good Days.
Well, but she's a villain, don't forget, so it's a little bit more acceptable.
Well, that's kind of the interesting thing to me, though, because, I mean, like, look, like, Chucky was always, like, the star of these films,
Sure.
but he was never the protagonist of these films, and so what I love that this movie does is, yeah, it makes Tiffany and Chucky the protagonists. Jade and Jesse, like, are such... just not... I mean, they're there as literal bodies.
Right. Yes. They advance the plot by literally driving other characters to their destination. But, you know, it's fun that this is also a road trip horror movie. You know, so often when we talk about those, I think of things like The Hitcher or Road Games or that kind of stuff. Like, this feels more playful.
Yeah. I mean, it helps that the movie's also, like, got an 88-minute runtime, so it's, like, a very distinct, like, 30-minute act break.
This is true, yeah. A model of efficiency in terms of screenwriting. Good job, Don Mancini. Also, excuse me for a moment while I drool.
I love the transition. Once we cut to daytime, the song gets more intense. This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Physical comedy for days.
Physical comedy for days. We both saw the French film Le Diabolique after having seen this film, but this scene is very much an homage to the French film Le Diabolique, or if you've seen the American remake with Sharon Stone, Diabolique.
Right. Both good, although we do prefer the French original. So gross, her finding the hair sticking out there.
Also her roots.
Did she break the body down? Or did she just, like, American style squeeze it in there?
I was going to say it was full American style. Like, I'm upset we don't get a scene of her, like, breaking the bones to fit him in there. But yes, that's absolutely what happened.
I don't think that would be in keeping with the tone and the humor of this film. But yeah, in a harsher, meaner film, I can absolutely see we would have seen her. Honestly, I feel like nowadays, if we were remaking this film with the kind of current way we make Chucky, we probably would get a couple of leg and arm cracks, wouldn't we?
Yes, 100%. Caitlin, hard agree on Liar Liar, by the way. That may have been the first film No, you know what? The first film I saw Jennifer Tilly in was this, I think it was an HBO movie called House Arrest, where all these kids lock their parents in the basement, but it's like a family comedy. It has like Kevin Pollak, Jamie Lee Curtis in it, but Jennifer Tilly is like the stepmom of one of the kids, and they all get locked in the basement.
Yeah, Mitch is talking about the idea that white vests and tank tops are prime hot. What's fun is that this is actually ahead of the game of the, like, queer-coded women in horror films wearing tank tops that happens in, like, the early 2000s remake era, right? Like, Jessica Biel.
Yeah, Jessica Biel.
I guess actually, you know what? I have to walk that back because we were doing a lot of Jennifer Love Hewitt in tank tops. But I appreciate a good A-tank on a man when he's got shoulders the size of a Buick, like Mr. Stabile here.
I don't know if... Was Jennifer Love Hewitt wearing it was definitely a white shirt, but I don't think it was a tank top. But it was enough to have her titties all out. I also love, her, like, little, like, humping the air when she's talking to him.
Well, she's trying to sexually engage him, but of course, he's a good boy, so he won't take the bait, but it doesn't stop her from trying.
A lot of this scene was improvised, or at least, like, they really, you let Tilly and Stabile just kind of, like, do their own thing with this. And so a lot of the physical comedy that you mentioned earlier was courtesy of Tilly.
Shocker.
Not shocked at
all. She has good instincts. You can tell, like, her penchant for comedy is good.
100%. This also, like, this, like, studded zebra... I
was going to say, a whole different outfit. Yeah. Here's a little bit of classic late 90s misogyny from Chucky.
I mean, yeah, that's to be expected, I feel like.
Sure. It's just funny that we then get lines from him on the TV show where he says things like, you know, oh, Jake, I have a queer kid. I'm not a monster. And you're like, okay, but you were deeply misogynistic in your early outing, sir.
That's very much Mancini evolving with the times.
100%.
I mean, truthfully, like, we haven't really mentioned it because I guess because it hasn't really come up yet, but, like, the whole premise of the original film was that Chucky he could only switch himself into the body of the first person he told his secret to, meaning he's like a living doll. That kind of gets either retconned or ignored completely in this movie because then we introduce the Heart of Damballa, which, again, has never been a thing in this franchise before this film.
No. But you know what? We're willing to accept it, and we welcome it.
For sure. Absolutely. I mean, the chant does say Damballa. We just never saw it.
Right. Yeah. It's brand new. I love the design of this doll, too.
I do, too. Yeah, I think it's great. I love the green eyes. It's interesting. Do you find that the Chucky doll is more expressive than the Tiffany doll in this movie?
I do, and I can't help but wonder if it's maybe just because it's on screen more, so they needed to do more with it, but...
Apparently it's because they worked with, at least, this isn't the same doll they use in previous films, but they had, like, layout already, so they
had
could
models.
They could make this doll really quickly. Tiffany was a brand new thing, so she had fewer, like, not gears, but, like, just robotics in her face to make her more emotive. Love that, by the way. The original Damien.
The reveal is so good, yeah. Ugh, every time I see actors in baths or showers, I always think about just how long the shooting days are, and often these scenes would require them to be in there for hours at a time, and I just think, oh, I don't like a bath enough. Oh, also, Murder, She Wrote, this is the most of Jessica Fletcher you've ever seen, right?
Yeah, I've never seen a single episode of this show. I know all the gays love it. I know the gays love Jessica Fletcher. I just didn't grow up watching it. I know that the Bride of Frankenstein references are a bit on the nose, but I mean, who cares? It's universal. You can do it. Do it.
Well, and also again, it matches the tone of this film so well, right? When you're seeing her responding to this, I think it humanizes this character who is often reprehensible up to this point. Like, Tiffany's not a good person at all. So to see her feeling genuine emotion over what happens to the bride, I think is it's good character development. It's also good foreshadowing, but it just, I don't know. Like, I think it reflects Mancini's playfulness. Like, he's very aware of horror history and he's drawing these natural connections.
This is kind of the thing, though, right? Like, I mean, Tiffany, the character, adds a huge camp factor to this franchise. Like,
so much, yeah.
There were comedic moments in the first 3 films, but this is really the first, like, truly, like, campy film. But it's these moments from Tilly, which, again, like, she's about to be out of the movie physically for the rest of it.
Wild.
But it almost grounds this character in a way that you really do feel for Tiffany in this film. Which is saying something, considering she is a sociopathic murderer.
Yeah. Yep. She's arguably as bad as Charles Z. Ray, but I mean, I think that's a testament to Tilly's performance as well, right? Like, she brings an innate likability with her to a character that maybe otherwise wouldn't have had it.
Oh, yes, multiple murderer.
There we go. Let's get our lingo right. Oh, here we go. Fireworks.
Yeah. So this is obviously a scene, too, where CGI was used to enhance some of the shots, like these electric things. Which, again, it looks fine because it's not like a shot built around CGI.
Exactly. Also, I will say, I mean, the bubbles here anticipate the later honeymoon suite massacre that we're going to see with the shards of glass falling. But I also feel like it directly anticipates that iconic death in, am I going to get it wrong? Is it Curse of Chucky, where we see the skylight fall?
Cult. That is Cult of Chucky.
Cult.
But yes, you're correct. Yeah, I as much as I love the overhead shot of this room in this trailer,
RV.
I mean, because it's not just that they can fit a bathtub in the trailer, but there's a bathtub plus like 5 feet of space on each side of it.
100%. It is wild. We're going to see a moment late in the film where Jade has dug. It's either Jade. No, it's some random guy is exhuming Charles Lee Ray's corpse. But when you see, there is a full like 8 feet of area around the coffin, and I'm just like, why would you have spent this much time digging this? But space is weird in this movie.
Yeah.
Also, I saw you take a drink, but I'm going to take a drink for Tiffany's death, even though she's now a doll.
She totally died. She gets resurrected, but the death still happened. Oh, did not know that, Mitch, actually.
Oh.
I wonder why maybe it was too complicated to do the bathtub in 1988.
Right.
Nevertheless, I think it works better here anyway.
Yes, so for folks listening at home, this is the bathtub death was originally for Maggie in the original film.
Oh, yes. But it's okay. She got a good hammer in the head and fell out a window.
This is true. She had a good fall. She had a good run. See, I do think that Tiffany's face looks emotive, but it just doesn't have the same range, right? Like, It's still good, it just isn't quite in the same league as Chucky's. But it's funny because, like, her face looks different now that Tiffany is in it compared to just how the doll looked.
I think it's her eyebrows. I think she often looks angrier.
Right.
More. She either looks angry or she looks kind of like surprised for a lot of this. Yeah, exactly. That Tiffany, So yeah, here's our retcon. Like, okay, we have our MacGuffin. We've got to go get this Heart of Damballa.
Sure. And I love that, the picture from the newspaper is his dead body from the toy store. Like, we're ever going to print that as front page news. But also, I love that it conveniently has the Heart of Damballa on it. Like, just cool. There we go.
There you go. And he was buried with it, of course.
Of course. Yeah. This is why I love movies. Did I ever tell you the story of when I was a teaching assistant for a first-year film course, and I had one student who was just so resistant to everything like that? He would have said, well, that's just too convenient. You can't have that. And I was like, no, that's literally how you write and tell stories. Like, you have to have things happen so that you can progress the plot and move the characters forward. Like, everything to him was too convenient. And I was just like, I would love to read a story that doesn't do this from you.
Yeah. Xenomorph, if you're asking if we prefer the look of Tiffany here or Bride, do you mean here or in Seed? I will say I prefer the look here. And this is not me shading Jennifer Tilly or Tiffany at all. This is my favorite characterization of Tiffany and my favorite look of the doll.
Okay.
I do think that the Tiffany character has gotten a bit more ditzy as the franchise has gone on, and that's not my favorite mode for this. I think it provides some good comedy in that Chucky TV series, but I almost wish we had a more like this version of Tiffany.
Well, I also like that. I mean, I also like that this is like a very goth take, right? You know, this is how the character is introduced in this film. So we keep the dress because we don't have, I mean, where did she get a miniature leather jacket? We don't know. Who fucking cares? But I love this idea that this is still the Tiffany we saw in human form. She's just now embodied by the doll, but like the costume still has to change. Obviously, over time, the character morphs. Like, she's going to become a mother at the end of this movie. And we see her more in, like, Susie Homemaker kind of, like, 50s attire as the franchise progresses. But this is, like, such a fucking killer 90s look. The other realization I had, Trace, and this might make more sense to you because I know you watched it, because we've covered it, she looks like Christy Swanson from the end of Buffy the Vampire Slayer when she goes to the prom. Oh, yeah. And she puts on Luke Perry's leather jacket, but she's got that full white gown. I was just like, I wonder if Don Mancini is doing a little bit of referencing there.
100%. But Tiffany's like,
Act naturally. Yes. Like a diva on a fainting couch.
Oh, man. We didn't mention Blondie's Call Me Playing during that, but the Best of Blondie was the second CD I ever owned after the Best of the Eurythmics. And so I listened to Call Me a lot growing up.
Honestly, a fucking banger.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and now we have to come back to Jade. I feel like I forget about them whenever we're not with them.
Here's the thing. I mean, the Jade and Jesse stuff is definitely the least interesting part of this movie.
Oh, sure.
But it's mostly because they're the straight people, right? Like, they don't get to really have a lot of fun in this movie. And so when you have a film that's kind of embracing its camp aspect, you want to see the campy stuff. And so it's not that this stuff doesn't work. It's just inherently less interesting.
Well, and I do think it gets better as the film progresses. Like, when they realize that they're dealing with living dolls, they do become more interesting. I think because they've got more to react to. Like, I said I miss John Ritter when he's not here, but part of it is that they're trying to be very mysterious and secretive to make sure that they don't arouse suspicion. And that's kind of what they're doing in this first act of the film. But once he's gone and we move into the kind of film proper, like, we don't have a secondary antagonist. It's just Chucky and Tiffany. Yeah. I think that's when their performances can go to that next level. So
you are correct. The problem is that they don't learn about Chucky and Tiffany being alive until the final 20 minutes of the film.
God, is it really that late? Okay. I mean, this movie does fly by. Like, I don't really have an issue with the pacing in this movie. Apart from, now when I watch it, I think, I'd love a little bit more. Like, this movie does feel a little brief to me.
Yeah, but I think, it's an 88-minute runtime. I think it works for the most part. But, I mean, would I take more of Chucky and Tiffany shenanigans? Absolutely. Yes, throw it in there. Yes, and they're going to run away with $1,000.
When he says, I'm going to put a down payment on an apartment, I thought, I'm sorry, what broom closet are you referring to? Oh, God, I miss the late 90s.
I don't think $1,000 would have been good enough in 1998. Like, I know inflation's a big thing, but...
Here's the thing. I do think that this could actually be considered commentary, that they are so dumb and naive and young that they don't even understand, like, the realities of living in the world. $1,000 gets you nothing.
Well, based on Jade's living situation, though, she gives off very much like, how much could a banana cost? $10 energy?
$20. Yeah. Do you think it's weird that we make him her uncle as opposed to her overly possessive father or something? Like, it feels like an extra twist that I'm not exactly sure why we bother with in this film.
I'm not exactly sure. I'm sorry, Liz, but 1,000 pounds is about $2,000. Just a heads up.
This is why we enjoy doing things that take place in different parts of the world, right? Because it's completely... and now Trace is getting corrected that apparently his math is wrong.
It's more than that then, right? It's not less than that. It's at least double. Oh, wait.
God. Money talk. So here's some good meta commentary, right? Where we're saying literally leave the knife behind in the 90s.
Also, I'm apparently very off. It is not double. Yeah, it's close to 1150. But y'all let me tell me of that, because then I'll stop saying that to people.
I think you might be thinking of euros, Trace, which are usually about 2.1 or 2.2.
Maybe so. Also, drink for Martha Stewart.
There we go. It has begun.
Split diopter.
There we go. I'll just keep drinking.
This is so fun too. What I love is, you mentioned she has like a 50s housewife get up at some point, or like her attitude around it. But this, it feels almost like a sitcom from the 60s or 70s but just happens to be, instead of like looking for something to do as a couple, like that's normal, they're trying to figure out how to murder someone.
Sure, yeah. And also very much like anticipating the DIY craze that would come when we start doing more like home renovation shows, or like cooking with 20 minutes and 4 ingredients from a fridge or something. It's like, well, what have we got in this van that we can use to murder this guy with? Nails.
Tilly's laugh too, like it sounds almost like a completely different voice from hers.
It does, yeah. I feel like she modulates her performance in a way that Brad Dourif doesn't have to, because he is only ever Chucky now. Like, he's always the same. Whereas Tiffany does have a kind of like peaks and valleys, particularly in this movie as she's adjusting to life as a doll.
I think this is so fun.
So playful.
Are we going to call this a horror movie reference, by the way?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Chucky himself says, I feel like I've seen that before.
So that shot of the nails flying was clearly CGI. This is great makeup work, though, on John Ritter.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the nails don't look like nails. They look like prosthetics, but in the same way that the stuff on Chucky's face looks like it. But
and yeah, it's that lip, like, oh, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. Just the right amount of gory detail.
Drink for the Hellraiser reference.
There we go.
Martha
Actually, I think it's supposed to be 2, isn't it?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, and Martha again. So, okay, wait. We're about to get one of my favorite moments in this movie, though, and it's when Tiffany. So she's cleaning up she's scrubbing up the thing.
Yes,
and she makes this noise. She's doing that.
Oh, when the body falls on her, the bag falls on her.
They throw the bag at her. Whoop! Here we go. Huh?
She's clearly having such a good time.
Oh, it's so... I wonder, like, I would love to be in, like, the booth when they're recording those things. Okay, make it sound like you just got hit by a piece of luggage. Okay, make it sound like now someone's carrying you by the hair.
Right? Just... I mean, I guess you workshop it, right? You think about, okay, if this happened to me, what noise would I make? What kind of response would I have? And so on. But, I don't know. I would be terrible at it.
Got some weed in there that Chucky is very excited to have.
Yep. And we're finally sort of on the road. We won't get far, but we're sort of on the road.
This guy. I love that they give him the name Needle Nose because he does look like a needle nose.
Mm-hmm. I was so convinced that I had seen him in other things, but when I looked up his filmography, it was just like, oh, I think he looks like another Canadian I maybe know. So
is this just like the cool place the kids in town hang out? What is this? Like, it's like a diner.
I thought that this was like a rest stop, like, you know, where you get off the highway and there's a couple of restaurants gathered together. But yeah, like, this is very clearly the coolest place in town. And I don't know why.
If this movie were set in the 50s, I would buy this as like a location. But yeah, like, what is this?
I don't know.
Like, that looks like the side of a drive-through place.
That's videos. We've got a fry truck. Yeah.
Yeah. Were food trucks a thing back then? Maybe they were. Shit. Maybe I'm just like, I don't know.
I mean, I'm assuming chip trucks for sure. But maybe not to the extent that we know them now.
Maybe not.
Oh, boy. I do think it's funny, though, that, like, this guy is fully on the record as saying, oh, yeah, like, I'm basically being paid extra in addition to my wages to be a terrible cop. So it's like,
oh yeah,
Bride of Chucky says ACAB, cops are terrible in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But also this idea that from all accounts, like, we have no idea how big this town actually is, but it feels like it's a very small place, and that we maybe have 2 of our police officers solely focused on keeping this teen couple apart.
Yeah, John Ritter's not a good policeman.
No.
I'm sorry, that visual of Chucky smoking that joint is
hilarious.
I don't think I've seen this movie in theaters, but I would kill to see this in an audience in 1998 with seeing the reactions to that.
Oh gosh, I think I saw it in theaters. I can't recall. It seems like I would have, because this was very much the time, but I didn't have a relationship with the franchise. I think I saw it, and I must have seen it because I remember my reaction to the boy. But it would have been, I don't know, like, I remember people having difficulty with the change in tone, because it's like, wait, Chucky is funny now all of a sudden.
Yeah, which is fun. Again, it's like the concept of it has always been kind of funny. Even that second and third movie, like, he does a lot of one-liners and jokes. It's just the movie around him was still kind of serious.
Right. In the same way that we wouldn't say A Nightmare on Elm Street is hilarious or meta in that way, right?
Sure.
Chucky's just throwing these kids under the bus by throwing.
I know. I was like, what an idiot. Like, just leave it in your pouch.
But also, he really doesn't care, right? You know.
But he does care, because he needs the kids to get the hack and sack.
Well, but he knows that he can take care of it if he needs to. This guy really is a Weasley. Holy cow.
I just always think it's funny that it's like, oh, it's weed. Like, I know, right. Like, where are they? I guess they're close to New Jersey. Whatever. Right. Nevertheless, I'm sure wherever they are, weed's legal now.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, because they'd be in New York State, right?
I guess. So, again, we have a couple different dolls that we're using here, but we also do have some dwarf actors that that do stunts for them when they have to do things like this. This is a CGI shot, and I think it's probably the worst looking CGI shot in the film. It is, yeah. And then when we're seeing it from behind, that's clearly like an actual actor. Yeah, so we have Ed Gale, who is a dwarf actor, and then Debbie Lee Carrington, who sadly passed away back in 2018. They're playing Chucky and Tiffany, respectively. The overhead shot when they're having the shovel fight at the end, that's them, obviously, like, doing that. Okay, that makes sense, yeah. This is too funny. There's just something about the way this doll is moving. And, here we go. I will say, this line killed in the theater. Oh, I believe it. Fucking doll. And see, that's the thing. When I would see this on TV, it was rude doll. Oh, God. The attempt at, the attempt at hiding what was actually being said, as though no one understood. Well, I'm trying to decide if I prefer, like, just muting the audio when in those TV edits, or if I prefer them to, like, dub over with something silly. Like in The Faculty, Josh Hartnett's like, phooey! When he's clearly saying fuck. And, like, I kind of like that. That adds to a camp factor for me. 100%. I would rather have a weird dub as opposed to... Mm-hmm. Also, look at this destruction. This one vehicle exploding. And I love that wild. Jade is like, wait, but I got snacks. Also, wait, okay. She was able, I guess it's like a gas station. Like, she got groceries at this place. Mm-hmm. I mean, they might have had stuff like snacks in the video rental store. But yeah, I get the impression that there's just a bunch of different things. Like, this fucking bitch. There they are. Like, I'm sorry, what? How do you know anything that's going on? I guess, too, I kind of feel like, given the look of all the people at this establishment, I feel like they would have been like, yeah! Like, when this cop blew up. Exactly. The fact that a cop showed up would have killed this party vibe. Yeah! They were clearly doing some kind of, like, early effort at a tailgate party or something, right? Yeah, just in the middle of nowhere. We're back on the road. But I'm going to drink for the death of our needle nose. So, again, the human drama in this film is just Jade and Jesse think each other might be the killer. Right. It's fine. It's fine. I think it generates some good kind of comedy as we move along. And I like that it's also the way we reintroduce David into the mix, right? Because... he's the only one who can kind of talk him down off the ledge. Right.
But also, we don't know enough about their relationship to really understand how they feel about each other at this moment.
Well, I guess that's my thing. It's like, wow, y'all turn each other really quickly.
It's true.
But that might also be kind of the commentary where like, they're teenagers. So it's like maybe they've been together for 3 months and they just think they're meant to be together.
100%. Yeah. And also, it gives us hilarious reaction shots from Tiffany and Chucky where they're just laughing at these kids being in this dilemma.
Oh, yeah. And that's the funny part of it, too.
Yeah. Oh, so Xenomorph is asking how old they're supposed to be, but they're still clearly in high school.
Yeah, they're teenagers. They're 100%
because
meant to be teenagers.
She's talked about how she's going to get away from John Ritter shortly because she has not turned of legal age yet.
Yeah.
Also, I wanted David's shirt. I love these kinds of like... Oh, I love that kind of fashion. It's like very 60s kind of mod with like a chunky neck and like a single kind of stripe. Very fashionable.
Also, Katherine Heigl would have been 19 when they were filming this, so she's not too far off from the age she's meant to be.
Right. I did look up Nick Stabile. I think he's
probably
like,
older.
He was 26 or 27, so
yeah.
Very inappropriate. Would you even tell? Like, he looks like a full-grown fucking adult.
He does live in a trailer park, so he's, like, on his own. Like, he's... You know what? Honestly, that is a little weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do think he's meant to be older, which is maybe one of the reasons that she's attracted to him. But you would think he would have a bit more street smarts, given that, yeah, he is living by himself. Maybe that trailer park is just like, I inherited it, and it was mostly free.
Maybe. I also love... Okay, so I know, like, we don't talk about how dead bodies shit themselves often in horror films, even though that's very much the case. But...
No, I can't say that we've talked about that too much.
No, but I just love that it's like, okay, it's the blood. Because like, later we'll get, like, you know, like David's like, poo, something really stinks in here. It's like, yeah, because there's a corpse full of shit in that tub.
I mean, I think you're just meant to read it as the body is decomposing. But sure, if you want to take it to a shitty place... Here we are on the Canadian side of the Niagara Falls border.
Do you recognize this?
I've been to Niagara Falls. It's just so kind of junky touristy, but yeah, it's very like neon lights down the strip, tourist haunts, and that kind of stuff. It's
really interesting because I guess, Ronnie, you had more footage of Niagara Falls that he really wanted to use, but in the editing process, like it just didn't make any sense to keep it. So he's really bummed. He was like, yeah, so we have like basically nothing of Niagara Falls in this movie. And I was like, were you really like wanting to really showcase Niagara Falls?
Maybe they got tax rebates from the city that said you have to highlight it as a tourism destination. And instead it's just like, oh, come to this super cheesy looking motel and get a bunch of people killed.
I am a sucker for the cross-cutting in this, though, by the way. So, you know, we have, like, the nuptials paired with a murder scene, which I think is just brilliant.
Yeah, it's good times. And really, this is Tiffany and Chucky's relationship kind of progressing in the same way, right? They're coming back to a place of romance after he fucking killed her.
My husband and I do this all the time. Whenever a song comes up, we'll just be like...
Oh boy. Only with doll arms, right?
Yeah, we don't go like this. We're going like...
Oh boy.
And this is, again, a quiet moment for them too. We're actually getting some dialogue where they're not just doing zingers with each other.
Right. Which is important because if not, it just becomes a joke factory and we don't actually care about them as characters. And in order for the end of this film to work and for Tiffany's quote-unquote betrayal to land, we need to care about them as individuals.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, and get prepared for a split diopter shot too, because we're about to get one.
All right.
Laughing.
They take it too far.
Oh,
here
we go. Split diopter.
I love the laughing.
The way Chucky moves too, he almost like it's like he hovers over, like he's not taking steps. He's like, ah.
Mm-hmm. Ooh,
yeah.
When the nails go in, though,
yeah,
it's rough.
I feel for that. Ooh,
knife happy.
Also, what I love, I'm sure they would have shot this all in like a row for John Ritter, but like later when David finds his body, that is still John Ritter. Like it's not just a dummy they have in the trunk.
Good on him. Yeah, I wonder if it was kind of, okay, you're in makeup, let's try to do it all.
You, and we'll edit this together later.
What a passionate kiss.
I know, right? Like, honestly, this guy should have been like, are y'all sure y'all want to do this?
Yeah.
Like,
you seem young and dumb, and you seem full of cum, but your heart is not really into this.
Technically, though, if she's not of legal age yet, she should not have been allowed to do this wedding.
This is true, yeah. Like, where is her parental guide? She's like, I've got a signature. Don't ask my guardian, though. He's in the van with a bunch of...
This image of them doing this was on the back of the VHS box.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I just always love, like, whatever images they decide to use for, like, the back of the VHS box. Nightmare on Elm Street, how I always say, like, really fucked up ones. You know, like, they actually would show, like, some of the fucked up...
The murders,
effects.
yeah.
This is just, like, Jesse and Jade just sitting on the bed.
Mm-hmm. So I was trying to remember, do we ever see this police officer again? Or is he just maybe show up in the opening of Seed? I can't recall.
Oh, you mean after this film?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's considered dead.
Okay.
Also, Margot Kidder's daughter, Janet Kidder, is in this scene. This character is doing something. I don't know what it is, but I like it.
Oh, it's amazing, to the point where I actually wish that we kind of stayed with them for a little bit longer, because I think they're very fun, and we could have drawn this out a little bit more.
I think so, too. But, I mean, she's just overacting perfectly.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Like, the idea that these two are grifters who are maybe sexually fluid, like, I'm very much getting a, hey, we're going to rob you, but also we both want to fuck you.
Kind of. Yeah, but yes.
You're like, really? You're going to fight me on this? Look at the way these two are acting.
I wouldn't talk if I were you.
Very weird. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, that the eye. See, that's good. Like that eye shot of Tiffany, like seeing her steal that wallet.
I mean, we get a bunch of good eye acting. Mitch referenced earlier that Heigl's acting during the nuptials is actually pretty good as well.
Eye acting, yeah. I want her robe too.
Are you sure that you're not a drag queen?
I really like women's robes, actually, because they're so... I bought like a faux silk like grandpa pajama set, and it is the most comfortable thing I've ever slept in. So I live for this like weak ass fabric.
Fair. Also, I'm going to quickly correct you. She is not Margot Kidder's daughter. She is Margot Kidder's niece. So stop the comments. We don't want to hear about it.
Also, I call people thieving sluts all the time because of Tiffany.
I mean, of course you do. That sounds very you.
It sounds very PC.
I will say, quintessential 90s moment is his, like, silk novelty boxers.
Oh, yeah. Also, she's like, I told you we would have got more action at Club Med. So instead of going to Club Med, you went to this motel.
Absolutely. Yeah, and seemingly they're not actually here doing anything. Like, wouldn't it make more sense for them to be in the casinos or out at the clubs? Like, why are you at a very cheesy motel basically just fucking and acting like newlyweds? Like, that's not a way to make you money.
I don't know. I think this is a fantastic set piece, by the way. Like, this is shot really well. I love all this, like, today, like, the shot where we have Tiffany just, like, kind of running off camera. Like, all that's great. Love the POV stuff. Like, again, it's not just Mancini's script that's very playful. I think, like, you and his cinematographer are very playful with how they shoot a lot of these scenes.
Oh, absolutely. I was actually disappointed when I was doing research to hear that Ronnie Yu finds, like, he's become known as a horror director in North America because of this and Freddy vs. Jason. And he doesn't like it. I think he's one of those people who says, you know, I've done a bunch of other movies. Please don't pigeonhole me as just a horror director. But part of me is like, dude, these are two of your most well-known, very stylish movies. Like, don't take it as an insult.
Well, that's what they're known for, because this was his 16th film, but only his second American film. The first being the family-friendly Warriors of Virtue, that I have never seen, but definitely popped up in a lot of the VHSs I watched as a kid.
Oh, okay.
But honestly, like, after Freddy vs. Jason, he didn't really do a lot of American films, so I think for him, he's like, well, look, like, I'm known as a horror director when I've done 2 horror films out of, like, 20-plus films in my career.
Yeah. I totally get it. It's just, it again feels like that kind of Katherine Heigl effect where you don't need to shit on the movies that you're known for or that maybe got you to where you're going because, like, I don't know, every movie is somebody's favorite movie, and I don't think that is something that we should take for granted.
I think it's easier now because of social media, like,
Sure.
and where there's so much more fan interaction. Like, so, like, I mean, like, obviously, fandoms are they've always existed, but I love that too. They're much bigger now, and I think now that creators have more access to fandoms and like seeing people actually appreciate their work, whereas in 1998, like, you weren't really getting that.
No.
So I understand it, but yeah, it's definitely, you see more people be proud of like their quote unquote lowbrow work nowadays because they interact with people who do appreciate it.
This is true. Yeah. Like, I wonder if he went to cons and got to see how people reacted to this. But even then, I mean, it's weird how when we talk about these movies, like you and I, we talk about them as Mancini properties because we can sense his queerness and like his authorial presence, right? Like, I should think of this movie as a Ronnie Yu movie because his stylish direction is really elevating a lot of Mancini's written work, but I mostly think of it as a Mancini property.
Isn't that interesting? Which, granted, to be honest, after this, like, he does direct all the stuff in the frame. Like, he directs the next 3 inches in the oh, that doll butt. Oh god, the tongue's
Yeah. This and Team America, right? Doll sex.
Yes. Oh, I forgot about that. I actually need to rewatch Team America. I haven't seen them forever.
Yeah. Oh, talk about an un-PC movie.
Yeah. There's shitting in that movie. There's talk about shit.
There we go. Because shit is funny. Let's comment. So I feel like I remember seeing this in at least the trailer or something to that effect where people were like, oh my god, I can't believe these dolls are having sex, but then we're making jokes about rubber.
I don't know if this would have been in the trailer, but I definitely remember like people talking about this in school. Like, it was like, oh my god, the dolls have sex.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good talking point. I think it's an amusing bit in this movie.
Yep.
Also, silk sheets. Ugh.
But that's that cheap-ass honeymoon hotel.
Right.
Oh, we got cell phones, though. I mean, I guess
I mean, look at hers. Hers is definitely, like, nearly a flip razor, baby.
I think it's one that just, like, slides down, almost. I don't know.
Oh, no.
Also, what is David's story? Like, is he also a minor? Or, because it's her friend, right?
It's her friend, but he clearly also knows Jesse because he knows him well enough to talk him off the ledge here in a moment. So I get the impression he's kind of a mutual friend, but I think we default assume that he is a better friend of Jade's because he is the stereotypical gay best friend.
I guess we didn't really get to comment on it earlier, but like he does talk to like to Jade about how, you know, his mom found a letter and blah blah blah, or his boyfriend's mom found a letter, and you know,
right.
Again, stuff that you wouldn't normally see in a film, period, like of this type at the time.
Well, no, I think we typically would have just queer-coded him, like the interaction he has with John Ritter, where he's trying to come off as hetero, but he keeps talking about things like figure skating and other traditionally stereotypically gay elements. But to actually acknowledge he is queer, he was seeing a boy, it ended badly, broken hearts. Like, yeah, you know, it's a small moment, but in 1998, I think it's a really significant moment.
100%. I don't know why Kathy Najimy has a cameo in this movie, but I'm really happy she does.
Absolutely. Amok, amok, amok.
I was like, talking about your Hocus Pocus. I'm actually like, I know Kathy Najimy, obviously from Hocus Pocus. Sister Act's the other big one I know her from.
Right.
Or if you grew up watching King of the Hill, obviously she's the voice of Peggy.
Okay. And we're about to go on the run again.
There aren't a lot of jump scares in this movie, but I actually do find this one we're about to get with David pretty effective. But it's like a funny jump scare.
It is. Yeah, indeed. It's very much like a lighter version of Anne Hesh banging on Jennifer Love Hewitt's window.
Yes! Hey! Multiple murderer. There we go.
There we go. But also, like, so what? He drove over there and then left his car at the motel at the scene of the crime to get in their van?
Yeah, maybe. He's like, oh, y'all just drive me back here at some point. They're not going to tow me.
Just like, David, baby, no, you need to go and live your own full life. Do not get tied down with these two.
Also, look, we're already past the hour mark. We got 20 minutes left in this movie.
Wild. Absolutely wild.
P.U.
P.U. Something really stinks in here.
Poo. It's just a silly line.
Mm-hmm. I love how quickly. Yeah, they really are like flip-flop, you know, the minute that they hear something that kind of appeals to them. Oh, yeah, no, I guess it could have been Warren. Warren seems like a killer. He probably did all these things. Like, we're fine.
They're easily influenced.
This is true. These would be the two that, you know what? It's good that Tiffany and Chucky helped them because those grifters probably would have taken them for every penny.
100%. Yes. We root for them when they kill those people. So this is really John Ritter. This must be like an insert shot. Like they shot this and then just like inserted it here.
Sure, yeah. Because we just have to light it to make sure it looks like it's day as opposed to night and so on.
Right.
But also, David reacts very quickly. I mean, I know he has definitely just found a dead body, but the way he pulls this gun on Jade, you're like, woo, okay, the friendship is done.
It's like his death is like really good, but it's kind of a thing where I'm like, dude, why are you just running? I know you're in shock. Like you're in shock because you are seeing dolls talk to you. But dude, you just walk out into the highway. Into traffic.
Maybe go the other way towards the side of the road, not into oncoming traffic.
Also, he turns really quickly on them too. Like I know he just found a body, but still.
I just said that.
I'm repeating it. I'm reiterating it.
Yeah. He does not look comfortable with that gun, though.
So, more CGI here. Of course, a lot of his guts are going to be CGI. But I think it happens quick enough. That's the thing. A lot of the scenes that are, like, focused on CGI, they're so quick that you can't even, like, really register that they're,
100%. Like, that looks like it's augmented practical effects. But, you know, the fact that we don't really see anything more than the bloody front of the truck, which is very mean, by the way. We knew what happened to him. We didn't need to see that. That is mean. Don't do that.
It's like very Final Destination 2E.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is our very clear queer for the film eliminated.
Dead. Oh, I guess drink for David, everyone.
To my high school crush. Yeah, Mitch is saying it feels almost like a homage to one of those actors where they're like, I'm done. I got to go and get on to my next project. It's like, kill him and let's go. Like, we don't have him on set anymore.
I will tell you that Teenage Trace thought this line we're about to get about the... In fact, if it were a movie, it would take 3 or 4 sequels just to do it just... I thought that was ingenious.
So funny. So clever. Oh my god, they're talking about the movie we're watching right now. But I think it's also just because that did feel so novel at the time, it did. Right?
Well, and I hadn't seen Scream, so I didn't know that it was like, obviously, like, this is aping Scream.
Okay.
It's not even aping Scream. It's just doing the meta thing that Scream had popularized by this time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting to me because this movie, like, the reviews were they were like half and half. Like, some people appreciated it. A lot of, like, heavy hitter critics did not appreciate this. And they thought a lot of, like, the meta humor was really obnoxious. And I was like, I'm just a little surprised by that. I'm surprised that more critics didn't appreciate, like, a lot of them said, it's gone into self-parody at this point. It's like, yeah, but intentionally so. Like, it's not accidental.
Yeah, the fact that they couldn't acknowledge that the franchise was changing directions and, you know, taking it at face value is very weird. But at the same time, I mean, I think it's very reflective of how horror has traditionally been treated by critics, particularly before the internet sort of popularized people who loved the genre. Yeah. I think for a lot of people, it was just like, it's resorting to comedy. What's next? Are we going to send Chucky into space? Because the movie has played its course. This franchise has nowhere new to offer or go.
Right, for sure. Oh, I love it. Something inconspicuous with a little style.
You know what? We love an RV in this fucking movie.
100%. Well, see, honestly, they should have given Tiffany an RV. I would maybe believe a bathtub could fit. No, I can't. You know what? No, I can't.
No.
She gives her the beauty mark on her lip.
Yep. Not gonna lie, the makeup looks a little hoary. And cheers for these dead old people.
Oh yeah, they're dead. Excuse me.
Like, that looks like a full-size stove.
Well, but I think in this vehicle, you know what? I don't think I've ever been in a Winnebago. I don't know if I've ever actually been in like a trailer. I have been in like a big RV that had like a shower in it, I guess. But
Okay.
It was like bunk beds on the side. Like it was like built into the wall. It wasn't like a shit bed and like I don't know. Oh, because you know I I used to work for a party bus company, and we had a bus that that bands would use on their tours.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I imagine those would be pretty decked out because you're going to spend a lot of time in there.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you have like 6 bunk beds essentially on the sides of the bus.
Right. I love that the movie takes a domestic turn now.
Oh, it's so funny. Like, this is so great. Also, the whole, like, you know what we have not been drinking for?
What's
My
that?
mother always said. My mother always said. So, sorry, y'all. But I used the whole, like, you slaved all day over this. The least a man could do is wash the dish. Like, I live by that motto. Because my husband doesn't cook.
Right. I will say, I don't cook. I do all the dishes. So
exactly.
Clearly,
exactly.
This movie was either made for queer men, or it's just a good life motto to adopt.
Oh, his teeth are so gross.
Yeah, he
that?
looks like a messy eater.
A nice hunk of wood. His face reaction to that is good shit.
Right.
Also, if you just got like this chocolate chip like all over his lip.
Yeah, the dolls really do have a shocking amount of just life in them.
That's kind of the thing, and that's like, watching the Chucky show with the puppeteers. It's like one thing that all these movies do, like these dolls feel like real characters. Like they don't feel like they're just dolls with voices coming out of them. Yeah.
No shade to something like Puppet Masters, where it's very clearly, like people negotiating dolls, and they do have some personality to them, but they don't have the expressiveness that we get in something like this.
Right, for sure. And we can shade Puppet Master. It's not a good franchise.
It's not my favorite. We'll put it that way. But we're going to have to cover it one of these days because David Dakota definitely does one of them.
I've seen the first one. I've seen Littlest Reich, and I'm good, but that's fine.
Littlest Reich was fucking awful.
Yeah.
I do want to say, I really, really like the use of slow motion in that last sequence that we just saw. So when Jade kicks Tiffany into the stove, and then also when Chucky goes out the window and we see the glass breaking around him, A+ direction, Ronnie.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, too. So, I mean, like the first 3 movies, the first movie was successful. The second one was pretty successful. The third one was not. The budget for this was $25 million, which, adjusted for inflation, that's almost a $50 million budget for this today.
Yeah, it's big. It's surprising in some ways because it feels like a gamble, right? This could have gone very badly. Like, just because meta commentary or self-referential horror films were popular doesn't mean that this was going to hit. So it could have been, this could have been very financially problematic.
Yeah, and to be honest, it wasn't like a huge success. This movie made $32 million domestic and I think $50 million worldwide. So it doubled its budget worldwide. But it wasn't like a runaway hit, which I think is maybe why it took so long to get Seed of Chucky.
Right.
This explosion, by the way,
makes no sense at all. I love this idea that these exposed wires light a fire that explodes.
They shot this using 4 different cameras, all at different speeds, different frame rates, and then they would just kind of use it over it to make it look cool like that. And I'm sure, of course, there's some CGI enhancement.
I mean, it looks good. I think it looks good. I enjoy the kind of campiness of watching Jesse flying out.
Oh, yeah.
It's so dumb, stupid. But so good.
It's stupid. I also love that Tiffany has a new look in this franchise. So we go from like her original look to her Tiffany look to this. Right.
I mean, truly, she's a fashion diva because she's just constantly changing her look.
Yeah, the ow, 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 ow. I love that. It's so funny.
I do also love the image of Katherine Heigl holding the doll that is holding her at gunpoint because it just seems so dumb to me. Like, it makes sense, but...
I love how, like, expedited this entire thing is. Like,
so fast.
They heard on the radio, oh yeah, we're gonna, like, exhume his body. Oh, dead guy. It's drink for him.
Dead guy. Also, okay, I think we're about to get an overhead shot. Look at how much space is around this coffin.
It's like he needed to have the walking room.
Like, you could have a dance party.
Yeah.
It's open.
How did he do this? Oh, this is great too. I wonder if they waited for him to do all the work. He's like, wait.
Yeah, everybody hang out here for a couple of hours while he digs this up. Chucky's reaction to his own corpse is very fun, though.
Oh yeah, this is it.
There it is. The heart of Damballa.
Oh, so good. It's just right there.
We don't have to go digging around. It's not hidden inside.
Oh, that's good.
Also, it's just a skeleton. It would not smell... I mean, I guess she's 17 years old, so...
I mean, there might be a smell, but it wouldn't be like John Ritter's shitty decaying corpse smell.
Right. P.U. Something really stinks in here. I think we talked about this on the episode, but this ending is very similar to one of Ronnie Yu's other movies. I think it's The Bride Wore White or The Bride in White or something. But
yeah, it's oh my god, I think it's The Bride That Wore White.
There we go.
Oh, sorry, The Bride with White Hair. That's what it's called.
Okay. But, you know, to me, this is so amusing because it's very, very clearly a soundstage where we've got a wind machine going and we've got lighting effects and so on. But that artificiality is so appropriate. Yeah. Like, it doesn't detract from the film. In a way, it almost augments it.
Yeah, like, I don't know if this is actually a cemetery or if this is a set they built.
Yeah, this is a set.
I say, but it looks so, like, honestly, what's interesting is it looks like a set that would be used in a Universal Monster movie from the 30s.
Correct.
And that is very intentional.
Yeah. It's ironic, right? Because when you look at the film overall, obviously Tiffany and Chucky's arc is kind of similar to Bride of Frankenstein, but they don't overdo it with the references in that way. And yet, yeah, you get to this and you think, oh, okay, this is so Universal Monster movie. It's
exactly.
To the extent that I'm going to drink because I need to do some damage on this before we have to chug.
I know. Also, I'm sorry. I love his whenever Tiffany tries to hug him.
I mean, look at her. She looks repulsive. Also, knife in the back. Ouch.
Also, don't pull it out. That's
like I know. I was like just like, rule? No.
Don't
get him to a hospital and then pull it out.
He's probably paralyzed now.
I mean, she probably killed him. That's why we never see him in future films.
He's also really brave, Chucky, like just to put that knife in his pocket like that, like assuming it's not going to cut through his overalls.
Well, he's handled a few knives in his day.
I'm missing the scene where we see him tie them up.
Right. It took him 25 minutes. He had to run around a bunch of times. Tiff just hanging out against the blood-splattered gravestone.
Oh, she looks so sad, too. She's just sad.
Well, I mean, think about it. She's waited 10 years for this reunion, and this guy doesn't fucking care about her.
Well, and I guess that is where, though, like the human side of the story does work, because Jade and Jesse are obviously meant to mirror Chucky and Tiffany and their romance.
Oh, sure. Except theirs is toxic. Jade's and Jesse's is young and Blah.
She's got like flakes of skin coming off of her face, and he is kissing it.
It's just plastic.
Flakes of plastic coming off of her face.
Here we go. Betrayal. We don't really do their bodies are becoming more real / they bleed and stuff in this movie like we do in the first 3, huh?
Well, because it's the sex stuff. That's where that comes in.
This is true. It's hidden away until we need to bring it back.
Well, but yeah, what we missed, because there's a whole thing in that first movie where it's like, oh, like I'm becoming human, and if I'm in this body for too long, then I'm permanently stuck in this body. Right. The Heart of Damballa seems to switch that out. So again, I've always filled in the gaps myself, even though the movie does not do that for you.
It's a very much a MacGuffin. The Heart of Damballa does what it needs to do in different variations, depending on what we need it to do. Mm-hmm. Which is fine. I just I'm in awe of this aesthetic. Like, I can't imagine what it took to make the dolls look this way over the progression. Like, Kevin Yeager, so good. Yeah,
it's all great. So here's our human actors again stepping in these overhead shots.
Now, do you think they did that just because it would have been really difficult to organize the puppeteers, or is it that they wanted to have the dolls do more physically demanding things?
I think it's the latter, because this, I mean, like, I don't think you could have had the dolls do this and have it look like actual, like, moving things. So I think they actually used the human actors very well. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, again, like, even in the close-up shots, I mean, they still look like dolls. Like, they don't, like, they still move a little bit like dolls.
Right, this is true. Also, I stand corrected because we saw Chucky stab Tiffany through the gut, out the back, and we did see that there's blood on that blade. So clearly they have fluids.
Well, yeah, he ejaculated in her earlier.
I know, Trey.
Up in that doll coochie.
Oh my god.
This is great too.
Just the way the doll shakes. I love his little doll run towards the ladder too. Cops.
Oh yeah, this cop that's in this movie somehow.
It reminds me a little too much of some of the adult storylines we saw in this most recent season of Chucky season 2, where you're just like, ugh, adults, get them out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Katherine Heigl's about to become a true final girl. Here she comes.
I just hope she hasn't wiped off that beauty mark.
Maybe she likes it.
Yeah, she's like, hey, you know what? That's a good look for me.
Yeah. Makes me fashionable.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh. Slow motion shots. Here we go.
Didn't shoot him in the head, though. Oh, I've never noticed that his eyes are, like, rolled all the way back, though.
Yeah. No, me neither. And I do love the visual symmetry of him landing right next to his own body.
This shot, I think, looks really cool.
Right? It actually reminds me of, like you said, it's a studio backlot kind of look, but it reminds me a bit of, like, a Psycho 2.
Yeah, okay, honestly, it's so funny. I was thinking Psycho, exactly, like when I looked at that.
Okay. Look at her fucking hair.
Yeah. Okay, so he's like, well, here's the thing, though. He's like, hell, they didn't do it. They didn't do this murder. They are very much still wanted for the other murders.
100%. Yeah. But no, we're just going to let them walk off into a field.
Literally, like, where do they go? I don't know where they are.
No. Okay, so here's a question. Would we want Jade and Jesse to come back? Maybe not with these actors, because I don't think that they would come, but would we want to see them come back to the franchise? Almost everybody else has come back.
I would love to see them come back, to be honest. Like, the people that I want to come back the most are Jade and Jesse, and I want to see Catherine Hicks's mom of Andy come back.
Fucking justice for Catherine Hicks in this franchise.
I'm telling, because they really do. I mean, because she goes to a loony bin in the second one, which is why Andy gets,
never seen or referenced again.
Never. Well, so she does talk to Andy on the phone in the post-credits scene of Curse of Chucky,
right? Where
he's talking. So she's out of the loony bin, like whatever, but we don't see her.
Mm-hmm. Mitch says yes, but only if they came back as dolls. It does seem like other people are interested in maybe having them come back, but
I'm saying, like, why not? Also
folks.
Oh yeah, Chug Your Drink. Oh, he is not looking freaked out enough at this, by the way. He's like, oh, this is an interesting doll that's moving like this. Oh,
how
it's that blood spray.
It's very alien, hey?
Let me rub this blood all over my face.
You know what? It's probably filled with like great like exfoliating chemicals or just like rejuvenating. Eat that placenta. Rubber placenta.
So this final shot of it just jumping on his face.
Very funny. What a great way to end the movie, too.
Right at the 85-minute mark, too. This movie is in and out. The pacing is just boom.
Faster than Chucky's sex scene.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, all the puppeteers. I love that they're listed right after the cast, actually. That's really, really nice.
It's really nice. Yeah.
Ooh, Katherine Heigl and Jennifer Tilly had the exact same stand-in.
Interesting. Not really comparable, but okay, sure.
But yeah, I love this movie. I do think this is my favorite movie in the franchise. I am still happy that this franchise, the continuity is still going strong. We are getting season 3 of Chucky later this year.
Yep.
I'm just so excited to see what Mancini brings to the party.
Yeah, folks, he definitely gave us a spoiler of where he plans to take some of the characters.
Yeah.
And it's, I think it's going to be very polarizing, but very funny. But also, I think given what is currently happening with our dystopian timeline, it's appropriate. And I'm excited to see how it plays out in real time.
I still want to see Jennifer Tilly, the character, return, even though, spoiler alert, she was exploded by a truck as well in season 2 of Chucky.
This is true.
But I wish we got her back.
Yeah, I feel like we want as much Jennifer Tilly and Tiffany as we can possibly get. But Don Mancini clearly loves these actors, so should be fine.
And Mitch, thank you for reminding us. But yes, everyone, so we have to do we have an episode. It's on Cult of Chucky because our podcast episodes do go by movie, but we had Don Mancini on as a guest. So we really spend about, I want to say 20 minutes talking about Cult of Chucky, and then it's basically a big interview episode where we're just talking to him about everything.
The whole franchise, yeah. Yeah,
you can go find that on pretty much anywhere you get your podcast. Just search for Horror Queers Cult of Chucky, and boom, Don Mancini's interview is going to be there. And he is great. He is a wonderful man and very candid, which I really appreciated.
So lovely. Yeah, very, very giving of his time. And also just, it's so evident that he loves movies, he loves the people he makes them with, but also he has so much affection and joy for this franchise. Like, he's not, oh, this is my legacy and I have to keep doing it and I fucking hate it and I resent it and the fans.
Yeah.
It's like, he's legitimately excited by where these stories get to take him. He still totally loves it, and it's more than 30 years later.
That's what I'm saying. I truly, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, I really don't know if there's another horror film franchise that has been, like, fostered for this long with the same continuity. I mean, like, maybe, I mean, I would say Mission Impossible is the closest I can think of, but that would have started in 96 and this is 88.
Yeah, that's probably the closest one, which is also very impressive, but at the same time, it's like, especially in horror too, right? Where we just love to pass it off to somebody new. Actors don't come back. Like, there's no continuity between franchise films. It's like, it's rare. It's really rare. And the fact that we continue to get new, exciting permutations of this, and we can go from failed army story in 3 to hilarious meta commentary in 4.
Ooh. It
just shows the versatility of the franchise.
That's what, actually, y'all, who would like to see Tyler, the little kid from 3, and whoever played the girlfriend in 3? I would love to see that girl come back, because she was one of the best parts of 3, in my opinion, but I digress. Anyway.
Right.
Well, everyone, that has been the Horror Queers audio commentary of Bride of Chucky. We hope you'll had a lot of fun, and again, Mitch, Soho Horror Fest, thank you so much for inviting us on to come and discuss this film.
Yes, an absolute joy. Thanks for having us.
Atlas Avenue, a long stretch of road that encompasses everything the city of Kennett Heights has to offer. Neon lights, traffic, crime, the hustle and bustle of everyday life, and the craziest of characters. My office was above it all. My name is James Locke, and I'm a PI.
Hello, Mr. J. How the hell you doing today?
Good, Edith. Nearly every year I have a new case. New people to meet, new clues to discover, and new problems to solve. But I do it the old-fashioned way. No technology. Nothing post-1950. Hell, I don't even listen to podcasts, but you should. Atlas Avenue Beat is a spoof of the film noir genre with goofy characters, tons of wordplay, and non-stop raunchy humor. There's also 3 whole seasons out right now with more on the way. Just search for Atlas Avenue Beat wherever you listen to podcasts or visit us online at bloody.fm.